Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio. So today, we've got a new stadium card to look at, and I know we've already looked at one ridiculous game-breaking card today, but this is a kind of card that has the potential to completely transform the format. And the best way I can put it is, hey, do you remember how good an impactful power plant was? Well, this is basically power plant, but with a wider application. Hopefully that will help to explain quite how good and impactful this card is going to be. Now, it is actually Path to the Peak, which some of you may remember from the DLC. And our translation comes from the lovely Antoine Boulet, who got top 4 at the tournament when this was revealed. Congratulations to Antoine. And it reads, both players' Pokemon in play with a rule box have no abilities. And this is firstly a phenomenal card that's going to see a huge amount of play. And secondly, is future-proof in a way that Power Plant just wasn't. You see, Power Plant was very, very similar to this. It read that Pokemon GX and Pokemon EX in play, both yours and your opponent's, just like this is a two-sided card as stadiums tend to be, have no abilities. The problem was that then Pokemon V came around. So you had Pokemon like Zacian, for instance, great Pokemon, great ability, which completely bypassed Power Plant by being a Pokemon V. Because when Power Plant was printed, Pokemon Vs weren't a thing, so this didn't count. But we have this new wording nowadays, this rule box wording, and this has frankly changed everything. I don't know what's coming after Vs and V Maxes, but whatever comes after Vs and V Maxes is going to be caught by this. Now, as it stands at the moment, Rulebox Pokemon include GXs, Pokemon Vs and V Maxes, and don't forget that Pokemon will count here as well. Now, in the standard format, that is just Tapu Koko, but given how good Tapu Koko's ability is, and given how much Lightning decks tend to rely on it, that is, shall we say, pretty gosh darned relevant. And the fact of the matter is that this is going to be, I think, back to the old Gen 3 days, where we had some decks that really relied on abilities, and other decks that didn't use abilities, but did use Cessation Crystal. You attached it to a non-EX Pokemon, and each player's Pokemon cannot use Poké Powers or Poké Bodies. So we saw, weirdly, a couple different Empoleon builds in subsequent years at the World Championships having really good runs using this. Because you know what? It was amazing. Now, this is a stadium rather than a tool. It's a very similar kind of thing. Stadiums are slightly easier to replace, get rid of at least, because you can just replace them, but it's a very similar kind of thing. And that's exactly what I see happening here. What I see happening here is just a throwback to the old EX era going into Diamond and Pearl, Gen 3 into Gen 4, where you have some decks that rely on abilities and other decks which are very, very deliberately made to stop abilities because they don't rely on them. It is interesting to note, of course, we do have Empoleon V at the moment, while we're talking about Empoleon, that will turn off abilities of non-rule box basic Pokemon. So, essentially, the only way to actually protect yourself at the moment, the only way to have an ability that is protected, is to be an evolved Pokemon that doesn't have a rule box. Then you can have a little bit of protection. Otherwise, and there will be decks, right, that literally are built for this. Now, of course, this stadium will turn off Empoleon's ability, because Empoleon has a rule box, which means that basic Pokemon that have no rule box will have their abilities, and that is a fun little interaction I'm sure is going to come up multiple times in the future. So this is a really, really good, impactful stadium, and there are going to be a bunch of decks where the theory very much is, right, well, all we need to do here is just make a deck that doesn't rely on abilities, play 4 of these, and go. And then, of course, we're going to have the whole Stadium Wars thing coming back, where you are trying to keep your stadium in play. And then, of course, you can just get rid of this stadium, play your own one, and then you get your abilities back. But you've got to have your stadium ready to go. Of course, Marshadow from Unbroken Bonds is one that would be really useful along these lines. Leave it sitting on your bench, and then whenever you want, you can activate the ability to turn off the stadium, to get rid of the stadium, but that's going to rotate out about 6 weeks after this drops. For those of you that aren't aware, this is going to be in Chilling Reign, which is currently due for release in June. So this is going to be just a fantastically popular card. I mean, if we take a look at our support Pokemon, it's going to stop Dedenne, and fine, Dedenne will rotate out, but it's also going to stop Crobat. Now, of course, Power Plant at the moment will stop Dedenne, but there's so many Pokemon Vs and so many Crobats, it's not so good. Incidentally, Power Plant will become absolute trash garbage when this drops, but that's one of those things. So it'll stop Crobat, but it'll also stop Oricorio. Again, that isn't going to last long after this comes out till it rotates, but it'll be there for a moment. It will stop Kricketune, that lets you draw till you got 3 cards in your hand, 4 if you're in the active. That's going to go away. All of these multiple prize Pokemon that we're using for consistency, and there are a bunch of them out there, are all just instantly going to go away and just not be viable anymore. And that is a little bit upsetting. Of course, it is going to stop Zacian. We mentioned Zacian earlier, but it is pretty gosh darned important. That is going to go away. It'll still be a good card. It'll still have a good attack. You can still use Metal Saucer to accelerate energy, etc. But you're losing that ability that both draws cards and accelerates energy. That is pretty gosh darned relevant. Of course, this is also really good against Zamazenta. Zamazenta's got that ability which protects it from VMAXs, but it's also got a rule box. So all you need to do here is just play the stadium, the rule box goes away, and then you can go. We've had Phoebe now. Phoebe is a thing. Phoebe just lets Pokemon VMAXs go through any effects on the defending Pokemon. That is a thing. But now we've got this as well. Shall we say Zamazenta is not the powerhouse we used to think it as. It used to be so much better. Cars just keep coming along to unfortunately stop it. Now, it's going to rotate out fairly soon, unfortunately, but Mewtwo goes away. Mewtwo and Mew, they lose their ability, which is pretty gosh darn important. It's the deck. Eternatus, all of a sudden, not only do they lose Crobat's ability, but they lose their own ability, giving them 8 bench Pokemon, which is pretty gosh darn important. That's kind of the way it works. That's how the deck is as good as it is. So that's something you're not particularly excited about. And it's worth bearing in mind, this isn't just for now, it's for the future, and it's the future proofing that makes me so excited about this card. Power Plant was amazing, but then stuff like Crobat came along and really made a mockery of it. Any Pokemon V, VMAX, or whatever new thing they come up with in the future that comes around is all going to be affected by this. They are all going to lose their abilities, and this is going to make this a very impactful and very, very widely played card. It is like Power Plant, but it's not going to run out of steam in the near future. Also, when you're in the expanded format, this works on both Vs and VMAXs and Prism Stars in a way that Power Plant doesn't. Although, to be fair, in Expanded, you could potentially play 4 of each and really go hard after GXs and EXs, while also having an answer to Vs, VMAXs, Prism Stars, and anything that comes later. So this is really something to think about in terms of the future here. Something like that Galarian Articuno, which is coming, that lets you discard 2 cards from your hand and draw 1. Or Galarian Moltres that attaches an energy from the discard pile to itself. These are going to be turned off as well. And there are only going to be more coming along in the future. I showed you just earlier today the ridiculous Shadow Rider Calyrex that's got that ability that lets you attach a psychic energy from your hand to one of your bench psychic Pokemon and draw 2 cards. It's a broken ability. It's absolutely nuts. Well, great news, ladies and gentlemen. We've already got a counter to it. Make no mistake about it, this is a very easy 5 Wossie card, and this... One of the things, I did a video about the rotation the other day and the likely effects of the incoming rotation in August and September. And one of the things I told you was that our choices for good supporters are getting pretty thoroughly impacted. Well, I'll tell you something for nothing, ladies and gentlemen. we've now got a really good option. And it's not for every deck. A lot of decks really aren't going to want to play this because they're going to want to use the abilities. But any deck that doesn't know what stadium to use, this has got to be your default stadium if you can play it. And you are going to see a whole new breed of decks, just like Empoleon back in the day, where the entire theory is, you need abilities, I don't. I've got a powerful single prize Pokemon, let's do this. I'm a little bit excited. But I want to know if you think it's as good as I think it is, so let me know in the comment section. Get us, me nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWasi, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCG Radio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can do exactly that. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.